Crowfall is a sandbox Throne War simulator MMO RPG which focuses on PvP, and I am going to give you a quick rundown of all the interesting things this game has to offer. Hey guys, my name is Shadiz and let's get right into it. Crowfall is a new and upcoming sandbox MMORPG which focuses on PvP, has full player looting, has siege war mechanics, a full player driven economy, and a very extensive and robust crafting system. It allows you as a player to become a very unique character, as you have to decide in which direction you want to progress and what you want to excel at. It is being developed by Artcraft Entertainment and it is currently in a pre-alpha state. So in order to explain this in the best and easy way is for me to give you an idea of what the general vision is of the developers. So basically they wanted to create a dynamic world where they gave as much power and control to the players themselves. So you as a player are going to decide how things pan out on all the different worlds that are being created in this game. So if you just heard me talking about different worlds, well, Crowfall is going to feature two different types of worlds: Eternal Kingdoms and Campaigns. So Eternal Kingdoms, as the name suggests, are persistent worlds. Each account is going to have their own personal kingdom, which you can build and expand upon. Here you can build houses, villages, cities. You can invite other players to be part of your kingdom, give them rights to govern certain parts of your land, and eventually you'll be able to choose to put your kingdom on a PvP status or on a PvE status or a non-PvP status, where you could basically trade with other kingdoms or wage war against other kingdoms. So how are you going to go about gathering resources and materials in order to further expand and build upon your Eternal Kingdom? Well, this is where campaigns come in. Campaigns are basically the counterpart of Eternal Kingdoms, as they are non-persistent worlds which only last for a couple of weeks up until a couple of months. So your basic objective in these campaigns when you first enter is to gather as much materials, claim as much land as you can, and together with your group try to build a fort, a defensive wall, and then eventually be able to wage war against other factions in the form of sieging and PvP and guerrilla tactics. So each of these campaigns are going to be unique in the sense that they are procedurally generated worlds, so the layout will always be different. And you will also have a set amount of rules when you enter these worlds for the first time. So there are going to be a different amount of rule sets that you could encounter. For example, there are rule sets where you have to decide which faction you want to represent. There's a rule set where you have to represent one of the gods to fight for them. There are rule sets where you only wage war guild versus guild. There are rule sets where it is free for all, where you have to go in and then in those campaigns lay connections with other people in order to make groups to fight other groups. There are also rule sets where you enter and you can only take a certain amount of materials with you from your Eternal Kingdom. So this was a very basic explanation of what Eternal Kingdoms are, what campaigns are, and what your general objective in the game is going to be. Now there's a lot more to expand upon this and to explain in detail what you can do, what the different rule sets are, and how you're going to go about getting resources back from your campaign into your Eternal Kingdom. But we'll expand upon that in a future video. Next up, we'll talk a little bit about combat, how it plays, what type of combat the game offers, and we'll also touch upon the different classes and races that you can pick in this game. So, without further ado, let's get into it. As the game is still in a pre-alpha state, obviously I'm not going to go too much into detail concerning combat, but what I can tell you already is that combat is a action-type combat system where you have to aim all of your skill shots. As with most action combat-oriented MMOs, your camera position is going to be decided by your mouse positioning, and your left mouse button and right mouse button both feature abilities. Left mouse button will have a basic ability, and your right mouse button will have some sort of an evasive ability. Next to your left and right mouse button, you also have 8 abilities on your action bar. You have a C ability, which is your ultimate, and you have an E ability, which is your escape ability. Now, all of these abilities can be swapped around for different ones through means of equipping discipline runes. Now, we'll talk more about that later down the line in this video when we talk about skill and character progression. With combat obviously comes a choice of class and race. Crowfall will host a wide range of different classes and races. There will be 11 classes available at launch and 12 races. Classes will be Knight, Confessor, Templar, Ranger, Assassin, Druid, Frostweaver, Champion, Myrmidon, Cleric, and Duelist. The 12 races you'll be able to choose from will be Human, Half-Elf, Nelthari, Fae, Wood Elf, High Elf, Half-Giants, Stoneborn, Elkin, Minotaur, Centaur, and Ginnikin. All of these races will also have unique abilities akin to themselves, which represent their fantasy. So for example, the Ginnikin, which is a hybrid mole rat, how I like to call it, will have the ability to burrow under the ground and get a new set of abilities. So basically then you're a stealthed rat. Ninja rat. How awesome is that? I'm rhyming. That's great. Other than that, you also have the Fae, for example, which is some sort of an elf which has wings on her back, which allows her to glide over the battlefield. So one of the most frequently asked questions I get when I'm live streaming this game is, what type of classes do we have? Do we have full-fledged tanks? Do we have dedicated healers? Well, we do have frontline fighters. For example, the Knight. He can stand in front of his group and actively block with his shield, and he'll mitigate damage from himself and his team. Next to that, we also have a Druid, which is a class focused around support and healing, but with a big twist. Basically, you have 2 skill bars. One is for healing, one is for damage. The more you heal, the more essence you start building, aka your resource. Once that hits a certain threshold, you'll start taking major damage from that, and you'll be forced to swap to your damaging skill bar in order to lower that essence once again. So that kind of prevents people from just gung-ho healing and clicking nameplates or aiming at people and healing them for 50% of their health. So if you guys want to know more about these classes and races and search up a little bit more about the details concerning their fantasy and their lore, you can always visit the official Crowfall website, and there they have a full section of all the different classes and races where they explain everything in detail. So now that we talked a bit about the general objective of the game, we touched upon the combat and talked a little bit about the races and classes, let's go further and talk about crafting. In order to fully explain crafting in this game and make you guys realize how impactful it actually is to the game, I'm definitely going to have to make a new video. But let me try my best to explain to you in a quick detail sum up what crafting is and how you go about it. So something you might or might not know already is that in this game you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. So you're really going to have to make a choice between, are you going to be a crafter? Are you going to be a person that fully focuses on sieging war and combat? Or are you going to focus on being an economist, harvesting and trading with other people? So before I can go into details on how crafting actually works in the game, I'm going to have to explain to you why crafting is so important and why you as a crafter are always going to be a worthy asset towards any community playing in this game. To put it simple, there are two big reasons why crafting is so important. One is that every item in the game is basically created by a player. Two is that every item in the game created will always be destroyed at some point. And this simple fact causes you as a crafter to always have a job. You'll always be able to dedicate yourself to crafting and you'll always have something to do. So as I said before, in Crowfall, you as a player are going to have to make that decision on what type of content you want to focus. So crafting is definitely going to be one of those big pillars you can choose from, and I'll explain later down the video where those choices come from and how you're going to go about those choices. So once you've decided you want to become a crafter, your next choice in line is going to be what kind of crafter. So we have a wide range of different crafts available right now already, which are, for example, necromancy, woodworking, blacksmithing, jewel crafting, alchemy, just to name a few. For the sake of this video, let's say we keep it simple and we'll become a blacksmith. We're going to try to make a sword. Now, how are we going to go about that? First off, you need to understand that crafting is not just opening up a window, clicking on the sword icon, dropping in 5 types of iron, and you have your sword with your set amount of stats. You basically are going to have to dissect every item you want to create and look at what parts it would contain and then craft all those things up from the base components until you have your full-fledged sword. So if you look at a sword, you know that it has a sword hilt, of course, and a blade. A blade consists out of ores, and a hilt consists out of a pommel, a crossguard, and a grip. All of these different components will have to be crafted separately, and then eventually you'll have to combine all of these until you have your sword. So let's say we want to craft a metal bar that would later be used to craft the blade for our sword. You'll open up your crafting window and then you'll see you have to socket in 3 stacks of ores. Now depending on what type of ore you're going to use, you're gonna get a different stat in return. So let's say we put in 3 stacks of copper ore, we're going to get critical hit chance. If we put in 3 iron ores, you're going to get attack power out of it. But, and this is where it gets interesting, if you put in 2 copper ores and 1 iron ore, you're going to get a electrically charged metal bar, which will give you bonus electricity damage in return. So as you've noticed by now already, you as a crafter are going to be able to make very specific and unique items that you are going to completely build yourself. And this is where crafting gets really interesting. Crafting in Crowfall is a huge thing, and you are going to be able to put a lot of time in this, because crafting one of these swords is not just a 10-minute process. It will probably take you an hour the first time you want to do it, even longer. Now depending on how skilled you are in crafting, you're going to be able to use different types of ore, better quality ore, but you gotta realize all the things that you do craft have a chance of failing. So the more you train your crafting, the more successful and the faster you'll start crafting. So again, a very short explanation about what crafting actually is in the game, but we'll definitely make another video about this where we go in full detail on how to further enhance your craft and how to adjust different stats and enhance those on your items that you're going to create. So last but definitely not least is character progression. What type of skill system does the game offer? What are disciplines, and how are you going to go about enhancing the decisions you make in the game and becoming a better character overall? So the way I like to describe it is that Crowfall has 2 big types of character progression. A passive one, which is through their skill tree system. If people who are watching this video are familiar with Evoline, It's kind of the same system where you choose a skill and it will progress after a time, and then you can go on to the next one. And next to that, you also have the more active part, which is disciplines, which we're going to jump in right now. So if you've watched the part about combat earlier in this video, you've noticed me talking about a way to change up your skills in your skill bar and actually add more skills towards your class, changing it up in something different. Well, this is done through the discipline system. Disciplines are basically rules that you craft in the crafting system we just showed you, and these will basically function as subclasses that will give your class a new set of abilities which you can slot however you see fit. There are 3 different types of discipline runes in the game. One is major disciplines. These are the subclasses I talked about earlier, and they basically give you extra skills. We have things like, for example, a bard, which would give you the ability to play songs for you and your team that enhances your running speed, your damage output, or your healing. There's also weapon disciplines, which are basically major disciplines, but they focus on your weapon specifically. Either they'll enhance the way you use your weapon, or they'll teach you how to use a new weapon which you couldn't before. And as a third, you'll have minor disciplines. Minor disciplines are just, like it suggests, minor enhancements towards your character. For example, a sturdy minor discipline will give you better mitigation when you are on high health. Currently there's a little bit over 100 of these disciplines in the game right now, so you'll have a very big choice of mixing and matching them together and making something pretty unique to play with. As you can see, you have a standard set of skills, and we just added a bunch of skills to them, and then you can just simply click and drag and add them to your skill bar to make up a whole build. So this was the more active way for you to progress and enhance your class and change up your playstyle. Now let's go on to the more passive way, like Crowfall likes to describe it, their passive skill system. So as you can see here, we have 2 big major trees. We have universal skills and we have archetype skills. Now archetypes are your classes that you can train, and you can train 3 of these at each given time. Out of the universal skills, you can only train 1 at each given time. So as you've probably noticed by now, these are the 3 big parts where you're gonna choose on what kind of player you want to become. So as you can only train 1 of those, the choice is going to be pretty significant. We have 3 different types of universal skills. We have combat, crafting, and exploration. Now let's say we want to become a combatant. We'll go inside of the tree, and you'll see you'll have a major tree and then some subcategories of trees. So if you go into basic combat principles, this is an example of one of the many different trees that the game offers. Once you step in one of these trees, you'll always start at the left hand side, and you'll have to train the first skill online regardless of anything you want to become. So you'll simply start training these skills by clicking on them, and then after a while the circle around the skill will fill up and you will gain an extra tier on that skill. Each skill is divided in 5 different tiers, and whenever you hit the 3rd tier, that's when you can progress onto the next skill. So as you can see, you're really gonna have to make a choice on how you want to network through these different trees, because as more as you train, the longer it will take for you to progress through these skills. Now worry not, this is why they call it passive skill training. All of these skills will be trained either when you're online or when you're offline, so you don't have to be playing in order to train these talents or these skills. So Crowfall does this because they want to prevent people from not being able to play for a week or 2 and then coming back and just being behind completely. So as long as you keep track of what skills you're training, you can always just stay ahead of the curve and just jump in and play with the rest of the people. As you can see, these trees can become very expansive. If we click through a few of these different subcategories, you'll quickly notice that there is a lot to train. Now, in theory, you'll be able to train everything eventually, but this is where my statement of you will not be able to do everything alone in this game comes from. Right now, somebody has kind of worked out how long it would take for you to learn all of these skills, and I thought we were sitting around 40 to 44 years before you can finish everything. So let's say you're gonna have grandchildren, well, those people will have a great account to start playing with. And this basically brings us to the end of the video. So in order to summarize everything and show you how everything kind of intertwines with each other, as you've probably noticed by now, and I've probably said it a few times in this video, you are going to be able, as a player, to very specifically specialize in the thing that you want to become, but you will not be able to do it alone. And this is the whole and core incentive for you to create an eternal kingdom or join another one and to build up a sprawling economy or a big war nation that can function together as a machine and supplement each other in what you actually want to become. So eternal kingdom building will not be just some housing mechanism that any other MMO offers where you just build your stuff and then never visit it again. No, your eternal kingdom will literally be your home base of operation, where you connect with all the other people, where you connect with other eternal kingdoms and try to trade with them for certain goods because they're better at certain crafts. Maybe you'll want to hire some mercenaries to protect your crafters and gatherers from dangers out in the world. You can imagine everything you basically want, and hopefully we can create that in this game. So guys, this was my explanation of what Crowfall actually is. I hope this video was kind of informative for you guys. If you have any more questions or any suggestions for future videos that I'm going to make, please leave a comment down below in the section and I will try to read everything. Also, I live stream this game. This is actually the main thing that I do as a content creator, live streaming on Twitch. So if you want to join one of our Crowfall streams, we always try to be as informative to everyone in the community. All the different guilds come together in the chat and chat about things. We share things together, and it's just a small community that's really building up, and we are trying to become a nice community inside of Crowfall. So you're always welcome to join. If you want to find the links to join our Discord or the link towards the streaming channel, feel free to look down in the section below and I will put all the information down there. If you're interested in picking up Crowfall right now, you could get into the pre-alpha by buying one of the founder packs. If you visit the official Crowfall website, you'll find all of that information over there. So guys, thank you for watching. It's been a very long time since I've made a YouTube video, so I personally feel that the cringe was very real, but I hope to do more of this and to really make like a series of Crowfall and maybe potentially other games later on where I give you guys information about upcoming games and whatnot. We'll see where it goes. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Peace out, stay cool, and see you on the next one. Bye bye. Alright, and what most YouTubers say, subscribe to my channel. See you later, guys.